Hey guys, it's Francis. I'm back with you, and this is an addendum to the previous video that I've just completed on Cyprus energy, and I've promised you in the week ahead. You've got two trades already. The South Korean one, the KRW, USD KRW, as you'll get on board the sniper circle trade for a mega spike. Also, I said in the previous video that I will be giving you an energy play. We bearish energy, but the trade is not short crude or anything. It's an equity that I suggested would have a huge market cap decimation. I'll be detailing that one as well. I've come in with an addendum that follows on quite neatly onto the overall energy narrative to the Cyprus story that I was just giving you, and there will be a third offer of trade that I will be detailing for you technically and explaining in a separate YouTube in the new week ahead, and that is going to be around energy, but it's going to be in the shipping space. So I'm going to take a small step back and explain to you the barrel of oil, splitting the barrel of oil so that you understand. You may have heard the fact that, and it's quite a shocking fact actually, the 9 worst carbon creating diesel-based, sulfur diesel-based liners and cargo boats that are plugging around the planet on the oceans create more carbon and all-round pollution than all the cars being driven. Yes, that's right. I was stunned. I still don't know if it's accurate. I haven't done a fact checker, but it has been a headline that has bounced around. In other words, the generation of shipping as causing some of the worst pollution. Now, this was picked up in UN quite a long time ago, and in 2016 the narratives to make changes in that space was taken on by the United Nations. And you need to understand oil basically. So when we say something like WTI, it is Western Texas Intermediate, so that is pulled out on the Western sphere. It's intermediate, which means it's not light sweet oil, it's intermediate thick, so it requires far more refining. Now there's two things. There's the heaviness of the oil, and there's also the sulfur content. Now when you split the barrel of oil, you get the high-end, really refined, very sweet, excellent oil that is very, very clean. Then you get the middle range of the oil, which is your distillates that are typically heating oil. So any country in Europe that burns oil to keep the property warm. You get airline fuel, and you get the diesel that truckers use as well, which is mid-barrel. It's a lot less sulfur than what's known as the bottom of the oil, which is often where you have the asphalt and the heaviest sulfur fuels. Now 3 million a day, that's with an M, 3 million barrels a day are burnt by ships from the bottom of the barrel. These often have 3.5 instead of 0.5% of sulfur in them, which means that is why they are A, burning a lot of juice, and B, burning the dirtiest juice from the bottom of the barrel, if you can think of the purity going down to the bottom, where the bottom of the barrel is literally scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of cleanliness. Pretty foul oil, but they're like grease burners almost, these ships, and in the simplest context, that's how they run, and they create an immense amount of pollution, most of it sulfur. So what's going to happen is from 1st of January next year, guys, that's 2020, 1st of January 2020, all major shipping has to now run on distillate. That's the mid-range, which means it's going to have to compete with jetliner fuel. That 3 million barrels a day is going to need to be required in the better quality range, with trucker fuel, with heating oil. Now that's going to mean more refining is going to be needed to absorb that. Just so that you have an idea though, airline is 8 million barrels a day, and the heating oil and truckers are 30 million, so it's 38. So it's not it's about barely 10%. It's not even 10%. So there will be a possibility of some price increases, but there's certainly going to be higher cost to the shipping industry, who've been getting away with buying real cheap garbage that they just churn and burn. and propels them forward and just spits out an immense plume of absolute pollution, to having to burn far cleaner. So this is justified when you consider how I started out explaining the absolute filth that they generate, the top 9 ships in the world. So actually, it's something I would almost applaud. Now, what this means, I don't think this is going to mean particularly higher prices. Refinery will already adjust for it. And as I say, I'm bearish economic activity as a whole. But you've got to remember a lot of things that get transported to you, it could be inflationary. So delivery costs, anything that typically comes by boat, is going to be more costly. It's going to squeeze margins on shipping. And we have a short for you on a shipping stock that is technically exceedingly well set up. And this fact that I'm discussing here is very poorly and under discussed. And it could mean also one of the reasons why the previous video referred to really keen to pull out oil and gas out of the Mediterranean, which could then see a greater volume of heating oil being provided, of medium level quality distillates for burning in European homes in winter, and also more things switching to gas generally, which is broadly cheaper. And if you have good gas supplies in Europe, people can keep the price down. More can burn off gas and less can burn off heating oil as well. So I don't expect immense price increases because I'm seeing real recessionary activity. But the real play is on shipping that's going to be totally squeezed. They've got away with very cheap inputs. Now, some of their ships will not easily convert to the new fuel, or will not run for a long time. So they're going to have enforced upgrades in terms of capex. They're going to have increased fuel cost in terms of fuel. And this will go into liners, so tourism, the saga world, people that like to go on shipping holidays, as well as haulage on water. As well as the cost for getting from island to island in the Mediterranean, etc., on these powerful, word escapes me now, barges essentially, but powered hydrofoil boats. These are all going to become a lot more squeezed in their margins. There isn't really scope in the current travel world and holidays recessional environment for them to push prices. They're going to have enforced upgrades on them on their cap equipment, and their fuel costs are going to go up because they're going to have to burn more pricey fuel. That doesn't mean distillates will have gone up. It just means that stuff they were burning was cheaper. Even if there is no major price increase by this extra 10%, 8 or 9%, call it 3 million barrels a day on a total market currently of about 38. They're still gonna face a price increase even if there isn't a little shift to the upside. And there's scope for a while to soak up that demand. The refiners are gonna, prices might go up for the better quality distillates. We will give you an equity that is technically trading exceedingly well for a major fall, and is well available across most platforms. And I think there's a US option as well as a European option that I'm thinking of. So it will be able to be traded. And these are all, these last two opportunities on equities are both shorts. They're going to be shorts into what I think will be a very recessionary environment, and also a Southeast Asian potential turmoil environment on the Korean won. So we're going to have a lot of fear that I think is going to have an Asian axis, thinking of the Korean won, what's going to see its currency virtually halve, maybe overspike beyond a half on that. All tied to recessionary type environment and fear, and people hanging on to their cash, etc., etc. And further to which, real squeeze on oil related businesses, hence the short trade on the oil that we'll be detailing you, both the equity and the detail. And now a shipping and cargo company that we see will also potentially halve as well. So this is something, if you're an options trader, you could get a lot of benefit from. This is something, if you are spread better, that you can hold. It should be a collapse of some scale, and this is all rolling out, plus it's coming. We're already in the second half of this year, and this is going to be mandated. And in fact, ports have been instructed to enforce and police the cleanliness. So it's kind of like the VW, to the checking of the exhaust emissions. There's going to be the equivalent of exhaust emissions being checked on the ships in ports, and they will be seized. They will be embargoed if they do not comply. So wait for the news of that to start happening, just to cause major ripples through. So the law is only as good as the enforcement, but this is UN-wide. This ties into Amanda Cortez's new Green Deal and all of this green and everybody wanting to talk green. They're going to have to show a bit of enforcement if they want to see that this is being taken seriously. And this will come about, and I would expect some unfavorable nation to be highly tested and found to be wanting. Say an Iranian ship at some point pulling into some Western harbor or Saudi stroke Mediterranean harbor where such would occur. It'll be some Western port where they'll be waiting with their detection and saying we are just enforcing UN mandate, and there'll be lots of political support in the people frontage to see, yes, it's about time we pulled in these boats that don't comply and are causing even more cargo. So ergo, an event for Iran, maybe Turkey if it's not riding the popularity waves at the moment. A nation state that is not part of the Western allied. You could even have a Chinese ship to escalate Trump's trade war that gets docked and held for non-compliance. China's made the statement that they're spending $3 for every one America's spending on greening up, after they denounced the pollution was happening in Beijing, and then the American embassy kept showing the pollution count until the people demanded the change. Now they're trying to be holier than holy. America could set them back on the PR war and the China hate shaming. They could dock one of their ships, so that there will be testing of a political nature. I don't see it being broad strokely enforced. I think it'll be a Western oligarchy looking to highlight its enemies. Maybe a Russian ship. They would love to dock a Russian ship and embargo it on account of it's that dirty, smelly Russians, just to enforce the stereotype, etc. So that's a prediction for you. And a politically motivated enforcement that sees perceived rogue nations facing all the speed testing and all the pollution testing on these matters by the cleaner than clean United States, America, Britain, Europe axis, in my cynical world eye view. So watch out for that, and that'll be received with cheers by the AOC brigade and everything. I actually approve of burning less sulfurous fuels generally, and I don't think it's necessary, and I think ships should be made to clean up. So I don't think it'll be a bad thing, but like everything, it'll be politicized, and the government will be deeply involved in that. Okay, so 3 promises, 3 trades for you, one of which I've told you the name of. I will run through technically first in the new week, then I'll do a separate clip on the following out of my promise in the Cyprus energy debacle. It's not Cypriot, don't get excited, I'll explain it to you, but it's about energy and the pressure on oil in my view. And in spite of saying there's an improvement in oil fuels that will be needed, and that shipping will now have to join and create additional demand for distillates, overall I don't expect the oil price to move very, very strongly up. There might be a once-off adjustment for that, but I'm also expecting economic activity to continue to decline, and the cost purely to be borne on shipping that will no longer be able to burn near to tar fuels, asphalty and sulfur enriched real bottom of the barrel fuels that were dirt cheap are now going to have to run on cleaner fuels, and I actually think that is one of those rare good things, but it's going to be very, very big impact on the shipping industry, and I will be giving you a shipping based trade to the short side, which is technically according to HVF method. In other words, all these trades were found technically first, and now as I get interested and I start scratching around, I start finding fundamental reasons as to why these things may be happening. So if you like the series and you're enjoying the 3 chances to earn your sniper circle trade, these will all be high risk rewards, by the way, very high risk rewards, and you should be able to buy your way in. And or if you don't like me and you just want the trades and you make money, good luck to you as well. Okay, secret handshake. We'll see you in the sniper circle when you land one of these trades. Remember, anything that we say or do is not advice, and we could in fact be wrong and you could lose. So watch your sizing as in everything. So you'll see the 3 vids to follow in the new week, my promise to you. Okay, bye for now.